Hey comic book fans, so Villains Month is basically over with all the issues out, and I hope you got all the issues you wanted to get, and if you wanted 3D covers, I hope you got those too, because I knew I had a hard time getting those. So I just wanted to do a little quick review on Villains Month, and just to give you some of my input, and tell you some of my favorite and least favorite amongst Villains Month. So I'm sure you already know the premise of Villains Month. It's just basically 52 villains decide to take over the DC series, and it also releases the first issue of Forever Evil. So overall, I like this concept of it. I know, and I'm keeping an open mind on first. I know some people were very negative and assumed it was just money grabbers, but I just thought of it as a way to explore some villains, and I wish they had less Batman villains because it seems that's what people mostly read. And I'm not a huge Batman person, at least definitely not amongst the villains. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but that's just me. But overall, the concept is pretty interesting, and I'm glad some villains got some spotlight to them. So the villain issues were released in 3D and 2D covers. The 3D covers are really cool and they look really nice sometimes, like the Mongrel one or the Ocean Master one, but some like Darkseid or Black Mana or Lobo didn't have the best effect. For me, they were extremely hard to get, but I managed to get as much as I could, which is about the first 2 weeks and a little bit of the other ones. But most of them I did not get because they were just hard to get for me. A lot of my stores didn't have them. I'm sure there were some stores that probably had a bunch of 3D covers, and if you find them online, they're pretty expensive. So if you have a 3D cover, I consider you a lucky person. Now I want to talk about some individual issues. I know many readers chose the issues by villains, and that's probably how this was intended for, but I got them by series, and I got the ones for Aquaman, Green Lantern, Justice League, and Action Comics. And I also got some for Superman, and I also got the Black Adam one-shot. So some of the issues were just one-shot stories, like Dial E. Some were villains' point of view during Forever Evil, like Black Mana. Some were origins, like Darkseid and Sinestro. Some were preludes to future stories, like Black Hand and Black Adam. So everyone's saying that a lot of these stories are hit and miss, and I agree with that. Some were just good, and some were really lame. My favorite one would probably be General Zod's, because, well, I already like the character a lot, and I like how the issue told his origin, and it also like explained his personality more, and that was just done very well, and I wanted to see more of Zod, so that's good. There were some I didn't really like, and the one I hated the most would have to be Dial H, or Dial E, which is the conclusion of Dial H. And this issue has nothing to do with the Justice League, and I heard it's just a conclusion to Dial H, and it just makes it way more inappropriate for a Justice League reader. So if you got this, I hope you didn't, unless you're reading Dial H. But yeah, it's just a huge disappointment. I was expecting a lot from the Black Man and Ocean Master issues, and those were kind of lacking. I mean, they were basically just showing them escaping their cells and then doing something, and it just showed a little bit of their personality, and that's it. And I just wish there was a little more to that. So it felt very lacking. That was the problem with those. I know there's some controversy over the new Lobo design, and at first I was a little okay with it, but then they said that there's a clone of Lobo, and that just made things more confusing, and it reminded me of the Spider-Man clone saga, which I really hope this is not doing. But in the end, just thinking about it, I'm going to keep an open mind for it. I'm just hoping for the best. So another pattern that I noticed amongst the villain titles is that sometimes the villains belong to one series, but then it leads up to another series. An example would be for Darkseid. So he's in the Justice League title, but at the end of the issue it says reads Batman, Superman, and Earth 2. And this is probably my biggest complaint, because it's just false advertisement, and it could throw you off. I like the villain Cyborg Superman, so I got his issue, but I heard he's going to be in Supergirl, not in Action Comics, and that sucks, because I really wanted to see more Cyborg Superman, but if I want to see more of him, I have to read Supergirl now, and that really sucks. They should have put Cyborg Superman's comic labeled with Supergirl. That would at least be more consistent to the reader, but I guess they just wanted to label the villain with the hero, I guess. But the worst one has to be Dial E. That has nothing to do with Justice League or Forever Evil. And after I read that, I don't even know who Dial E is. So that's really just it's just kind of frustrating sometimes, and it's very inconsistent. Overall, looking at Villains Month as a whole, I liked it. I like exploring and establishing origins of new villains of the New 52, and I got some great stories in the end, and I like how some of those stories could lead up to newer stories. The 3D covers were a very nice addition, and of course that took a lot of money out of me too, so now I'm broke. Um, there are a lot of inconsistencies with the New 52, like not knowing if the story was going to be an origin story or a tie-in or whatever. It's weird to rate this month, but if I was to give it a rating, I would give it a 3 out of 5. It had great stories overall. It was a very bold decision, but they should have just been a little more consistent. So yeah, that's it. Tell me what you think about Villains Month. What were some of your favorites or your most hated? What do you think of the new logo design? And I heard the Joker's issue was the most disappointing. So tell me what you think of that. Did you get the 3D covers? Did you get them easily? I'd like to know. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.